presented by Dano's Seasoning. Yum yum, get you some.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Sunbelt Syndicate. Excited to have you along for the Bowl special tonight. As always, I'm Dominick Cressetto, along with the man, Mr. TJ Corman. And you got to show us the shirt tonight. So it says, I see the top says sorry.
Yeah.
What is?
Sorry, too busy doing nothing. My son loves this shirt. He's he's been getting into Garfield lately a lot. So when he saw it tonight, he almost lost it. He didn't know I had it.
Nice.
So yeah, all my shirts he loves. He's like, Daddy, can I watch that cartoon? Or Daddy, that was a cartoon when you were little. And I'm like, yeah, it was.
It was a cartoon well before you were little, TJ.
That is fair. That is very fair. I don't think he would be able to even extrapolate that though. There were TVs before you were born.
Oh, I know, right? Like
Yeah.
the kids these days. I was thinking I just grabbed no free ads, but I just grabbed some Chick-fil-A today. And I was like, I don't remember growing up with Chick-fil-A. Like, I don't remember when they entered my life. Like, I think it was college, right?
I don't even. Yeah, we had Arby's.
Yep.
When we were in Boone. So I don't even remember. No, I don't even know when I started eating Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
I don't even eat it that often.
Really?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm just not a Chick-fil-A fan. I'm not against it. I'm just
right.
not. There's never a time where I'm like, oh, I should go get a Chick-fil-A sandwich. But
well, when you have your wisdom teeth out and you can't eat a lot of solid foods, their milkshakes, again, no free ads, but that hits the spot, man.
That sounds fair.
So yeah, that was my dinner was French fries and a milkshake. So I was doing really good on the mostly liquid diet until I realized I can have some crappy foods still along with it. So
mashed potatoes, man. Mashed potatoes is, especially with a little cheese in it, little chives, a little bit of garlic, some onion. You can do it up.
I definitely took advantage of the mashed potatoes early on. That's one of the best things I could have eaten, right? Because I can't even really get stuck back there. Just kind of swallow it down. It's easy.
Exactly.
But yeah, we got the Big Ten backers telling us that they're pretty hungry. Yeah. So speaking of being hungry, TJ, thick thighs and large fries. I saw, man, it made me feel worse because I can't chew it. But tell the fine people what you cooked up. I guess it was yesterday, probably. But
yeah, last night. Yeah.
Okay.
Made some garlic butter steak bites, and I used the Dano's garlic and herb seasoning. By the way,
nice.
You should try it if you have not. So it's a lot into it, but a couple tablespoons of garlic, the sauce, a couple tablespoons of garlic, whole stick of butter, some heavy cream, Worcestershire sauce, soy sauce, nice, season it up all the way. I mean, and it's just, you get the sauce thick and bubbling. You can add a little bit of cheese to it if you want. I mean, it was just outstanding. You add a little garlic or a little parsley for garnish. I put it over some pasta. It was delicious. It was absolutely insane. I was in heaven.
If you guys haven't followed his page, Thick Thighs and Large Fries, saying it slow so everyone can hear it and spell it out, man. It's nothing but pictures of food, and it's nothing but pictures of amazing looking food. So not only do we do this, but TJ's got some stuff that you're going to want to follow along for totally other reasons.
Yeah.
It will make you hungry. So
yes, it's not to brag, but it's pretty delicious. I was telling Dom at the beginning before we even started this, I was like, you can read, you can cook. That's not true for everybody, right? However,
because I can read, TJ.
Well, most of everything you're ever going to cook has been somebody wrote it down somewhere. You just got to find it and just do what the thing says to do.
Yeah,
and then taste and adjust as you go. You know your palate.
Yeah. And if you don't know your palate, you just sprinkle on a little Dano's, as the promo code says below, doggos at checkout. Get yourself some Dano's seasoning to help you with your lack of flavoring.
Yeah, for some flavor. Take yourself to Flavor Town.
There you go. Yeah, and Big Ten backers asked if it brings all the boys to the yard. Well, it didn't, luckily for me. That may be a Hunter thing. Maybe he wants to bring all the boys to the yard. Our fine leader over here, and my good friend Steve knows that I live on candy. Yes, it's killing me that I can't have like my sweet tooth right now. In fact, I did try a little chocolate today for the first time, really, and you can feel it when those teeth are gone. So
Yeah.
Anyways, we are brought to you part of the Dogs Media Network and backed by collegefootballdogs.com. Definitely going to be trying to get all these bowl games covered for you guys going forward, whether it's Sun Belt or otherwise. So stay tuned, stay on the lookout for that. We do want to start off. We had the Troy boys on just last week before we went over the Sun Belt Championship game between App State and Troy. Definitely congratulations to the Troy Trojans. It was a great game for 3 quarters, TJ, before it really took a turn there, I guess.
Yeah, we had some mishaps. Listen, I mean, at the end of the day, Troy's a really good football team, and we knew they were going to be a good football team going into it. So it's not out of the realm of possibility is that if you make a mistake or several against those teams that they capitalize on them, almost instantaneously, and that's what happened. So congrats to them. Not our best year anyway to begin with. Didn't end on a positive note, but again, and congratulations to Troy on getting Duke too. I know we would have loved to have gotten that draw. What that would have done for us, I know it would have been down there in Alabama, but that would have been awesome for App State to get Duke in a bowl game.
Yeah, no, that one's definitely one that we're going to be going over that's got some excitement for a multitude of reasons, and that being one of them. Duke close to you and I here in Durham and Wake Forest, and you were obviously previously in Durham. One that, I mean, it's not a huge thing for App to have ever played Duke, right? Like, I don't feel like that's any kind of real big thing, but it'd still be cool just because fan base, easy travel,
Right.
Yeah. They'd probably sell out Duke Stadium for, like a Clemson game,
Sure, absolutely.
It's a pretty easy drive. But TJ, we are going to go over one clip that kind of explains more than just that one singular play in your clip breakdown for the week. Go! So let's add that to the screen here. It's going to come up rather quick this first time around. This is going to be a 4th and 1 play early in the game. No score just yet. TJ, I'll let you speak on not only just this play specifically, maybe even more so, the mentality of when these types of plays don't go your way when you're on the field and what that can do to you in the moment and maybe kind of long-term how it sets you up for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, plays like this, these are tone-setting plays, right? For either one side or the other. I mean, you go for it, obviously, because you want to try and set a tone if you're offense, establish that, you're tough-minded, you're going to be here all day. But if you're on the defense and you get a stop like this, what this does for morale, getting your team back to football. Now, again, Troy didn't score on this turnover or turnover on downs, I guess. But it does give you a confidence in your defense if you're an offense. If you make a mistake, these kinds of things can kind of be overcome because our defense is playing great football. And Troy has played great football on defense all year. They played great football on both sides of the ball, but especially on defense. But, for an offense and for a team who, on the other side of that, for App State, it doesn't – in the moment, it hurts and it sucks. And it's like, all right, well, defense, get ready to go. But I'll say this, having been on the side that doesn't get the first down sometimes on 4th down, you don't really think about it as the game goes on, right? You're going to do it again at some point, right? And you think to get it back, which we did it a couple times and didn't get it, which shows, again, that's a tribute to how good Troy's defense, defensive line is. They got some studs up there that are going to be playing on Sunday for sure, in my opinion. But they're a good football team all the way around. And as far as this goes, they just, stalemate across the board. Nobody got any kind of leverage from an offensive line perspective. There was no movement at all. I mean, there was penetration all the way 2 or 3 yards in our backfield. I think 44, we talked about it earlier, he overran the play. He was so far deep in the backfield. So, again, I said it a million times and I'll say it again. Troy is tough, and they're going to continue to be tough. They recruit well in their area and really surrounding areas. And I think these two teams have got a bright future, against each other for sure.
Yeah. And Big Ten backers said that D-line got low quick, and they got low often throughout the day, unfortunately, for App State. That was I mean, reminiscent of the James Madison game, which was a little bit lower scoring. Obviously, there was no real explosion at any point like there was in this Troy game. Towards the end there, but yeah. Well, I mean, they got low to stand them up, and they also got low and got right, like you said, 44 went right through completely untouched. There was nobody in that gap. In fact, like you said, he overran it so much that he could have had Castle for like a 2-yard or 3-yard loss if he hits him initially.
He completely overran the play.
Yeah. Cody's letting us know a couple things. Y'all's film breakdowns are amazing. I love watching them. Those App State helmets were straight fire.
Yeah, those helmets are dope.
Yeah. Is that something that was as big of a factor when you played? I don't think every school was kind of going as crazy as they are these days.
Outside of Oregon, nobody was really doing it.
Right.
And Oregon's been doing it. Give them credit for it. Oregon's been doing it for a while. Like, they've been doing it sort of obnoxiously long, right? It's like, how many different helmets can you make? The chrome one I don't like so much, but they've got a white one, they've got a green one, they've got a black one, they've got a yellow one. It's like, guys, slow down. But I think we've got black, yellow, and white are the three colors that we have as far as helmets go, as far as base color helmets go. But yeah, the black is always going to be top notch for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like the black. I'm glad they haven't done anything like over the top.
Right.
I think Oregon has done that kind of stuff. Western Kentucky, who we're going to talk about here in a little bit, actually has gone to that like metallic chrome look. I don't love that one. I mean, like as a helmet sitting on a shelf maybe, but on the field, I don't love those. I actually thought Troy's helmet was really good too. There was nothing too fancy about it. It was just clean looking with the white. Apparently they don't really do the white helmet very often. So I thought it was a good look for both teams, really. Unfortunately, they didn't have like great weather to showcase everything off. It was just a wet game on and off, and I think that didn't really help App State in any regard. Didn't seem to hurt Troy too much because they could that run with that monster Kamani Vidal that they have on their side. Especially after that game, man, that was ridiculous. But Big Ten Backers is asking us how we can get the slow-mo on the YouTube. That is, again, there's no free ads here, but that is YouTube TV. TJ and I are both founding members. No, we're not founding members, but we do use it. We do like it. Again, I really do hate to push this without getting paid for it. But I will tell you that you can literally go to a Sunbelt game or an ACC game or whatever, and if you choose to record it, it's going to give you some options as soon as you do that. So you can choose to record just that event. You can choose to record every time that team appears. You can choose to record every time that conference appears. So I made it real easy on myself to do this show and for just film watching in general. And I recorded every single Sunbelt event that's going to be televised this year. So that makes it easy for us to come back and do clips like this. It also makes it easy because the Sunbelt is rising. That's both a term and phrase that they actually use, but I
was
think
here to say rising.
You all know the clip. If you're a Sunbelt fan and you've watched, you know the clip. My son's like obsessed with that commercial. He will stop doing whatever he's doing and turn towards the TV every time he hears that start up. But I mean, the great part about the Sunbelt getting better is that we and everybody is easier. It's easier on us now to watch these teams in this conference more than it ever has been.
Yeah.
So that is the big time bonus with having something like YouTube TV. I mean, a lot of the games are still on ESPN Plus, but at least quite a few of them are being elevated to some major networks, either week of the game or just prior. So yeah, I mean, it's a great time to be following Sunbelt football, and we are glad that a lot of you are along for the ride and appreciative of what we're bringing to you while we do these things. And AJ, I think it's AJ who's running the Big Ten Backers account. He says he has YouTube TV. Yeah, so he knows what it is. Maybe he didn't realize that that's what we were running, but the slow-mo is awesome because it allows TJ to explain further while I'm fumbling around in the background. He's trying to understand what the heck I'm going to be doing next when we're doing all those things. But real quick, let's go to the title sponsor of the show real quick, and we'll jump right back in and just start going through bowl previews for you guys.
Yum, yum, get your some. Yum, yum, get your some. Yum, yum, get your some. Yum, yum, get your some.
Dano Seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa, whoa.
Joe, we
Hey.
all know you're the best.
What?
You can always do better.
What you got?
Try the new Dano's Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
Gotta love it. So, TJ, you're really seeing this for the first time too. So I took the liberties of messing with us.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. And so we actually had both of the Big Ten backers on. For those of you that are unaware of who they are, you shouldn't be. Those guys are awesome, man. If you can see from the little picture, they dressed up as the Michigan film crew, and they went to a ton of Big Ten games this year with a fake camera that was, allowed into the stadium. It was some type of other material that they had made it with. They do fan interviews literally in the stadium. They do it at pregame. They do it literally postgame on the field. They interviewed the kid who kind of had the cell phone in Caleb Williams' face
Right.
after they got beat. So, I mean, they put a ton of time and effort in, but they also make it a lot of fun to watch. So definitely go check them out. They don't just cover the Big Ten. Their focus is the Big Ten, just like ours is the Sun Belt. But they cover a lot of football in general. They're going to talk all kinds of football. So give them a follow and a like if you'd like to check out their content as well. AJ, been talking to you so much, I stopped in. Yeah. Well, we appreciate that. Yeah, AJ's been awesome. And we, I'm sure TJ and I would love to get to the fact where you guys are going to all these games and stuff, but we got young kids, so we're working on that aspect.
Yeah, working on it.
Get older. Captain America says they're very nice guys, so yeah, they're definitely good dudes. Like I said, it's just fun to watch their content. They get the co-eds, they get the students, they get other people that they just run into that want to be on camera and are willing to do an interview, and they'll just stop and talk to them a little football. As far as this is concerned, I tried to get a little fancy with this one and change it up a little bit. Obviously, this is getting closer to the Christmas spirit, Christmas time of year. So we've got 12 games, 12 teams, and we've got 12 days of Christmas. So I called this the 12 games of Christmas. Obviously, these are not all around the Christmas holiday exactly, but we'll start jumping into this one. The first one that we're going to talk about is the Myrtle Beach Bowl. This is a kickoff on December 16th. There's 3 games that are going to be on this Saturday. This is the first one. It's 11 a.m. local time there in Myrtle Beach. It pits 6-6 Georgia Southern going up against 9-3 Ohio from the MAC. TJ, you and I are both talking, and we're not going to blow smoke up anybody's behind here. We don't really know a ton about Ohio as far as playmakers and guys that are like huge standouts on the team. We are obviously well aware of what Georgia Southern can bring to the field. So just on a basis of the records to start with, maybe who people have beaten, who they haven't beat, what are you thinking going into this one down there in Myrtle Beach?
So to be honest, I'm thinking Georgia Southern actually has a pretty decent shot. I know Ohio's played some fairly decent talent this year. I know they lost to San Diego State, but they beat FAU, they beat Iowa State, which is pretty good competition. Bowling Green, which they had a pretty down year. Kent State, not really impressed. Haven't really been impressed with Kent State at all. And then they lost to Northern Illinois, who's been pretty tough. Beat Western Michigan. So I mean, they've got some quality wins. I don't know. I've been a fan of Central Michigan for quite a while. I had a former coach of mine who coached there back in the day. But I do think Georgia Southern stands a pretty good chance. I don't know. It's always going to depend on what Georgia Southern team we get, right? Are they going to be motivated to come out and give us their best version of themselves? So I think, this game, I don't want to say coin toss because that sounds sort of cliche, but based on talent and based on strength of schedule, I would certainly give Georgia Southern the nod in terms of having a better strength of schedule. But that'll depend on, again, what version of Georgia Southern we get.
Yeah, I agree. That's absolutely true here. Georgia Southern, we saw them perform pretty well at times this year, and then we saw them honestly, them and Marshall are, to me, like mirror images of each other, right? Like both can be extremely dangerous and have pretty potent offenses, but if the quarterbacks aren't hitting, right? We saw both quarterbacks on both teams throw quite a few interceptions this year, and that wasn't the only problem. I'm not placing all the blame on the quarterback position, but that's the one that's going to get the most eyes and the most talked about. So it has to start there, right? I mean, is there another place where this starts? I mean, we know Georgia Southern's offense used to be predicated on the triple option offense. Now it doesn't seem to have to start with the running back anymore like it used to with Georgia Southern. It seems like it now starts with the quarterback, and if he's not facilitating the wide receivers and they're not facilitating him by getting open into open areas, that's going to be a struggle, even though they used to be very, very good at running the ball there. I don't think they're bad now, but I think it's definitely a different offense under Clay Helton and what he's tried to do and going in there and changing that offensive philosophy in there.
I agree 100%. I mean, I think the changes that have been made, I think, are for the better, right? I mean, triple options, semi-archaic, right? Like, it works when it works, but when it doesn't, it doesn't, and that can't be your only thing. So I think changes for the better. I do think they do a good job of keeping some of the old elements a part of that offense, but for the most part, change is good. So I think that suits Georgia Southern, and like I said, I don't know. It's going to be hard to pick this game because, like I said, I know Ohio's played a pretty decent schedule. I don't know that it's certainly I do know it's not tougher than Georgia Southern's schedule based on, the confidence and strength of confidence. But that said, it'll come down to who executes, better at this point.
Yeah, and here's the interesting note that I'm just realizing as looking back at both teams' schedules. Maybe this changes your mind a little bit here because it definitely puts a pause into my mind. So Ohio ends the year with 3 straight wins. Again, these are against Buffalo, Central Michigan, and Akron. So I'm not sitting here saying they won with 3 straight wins over great opponents. But to note, they did win 3 straight to end the year. Meanwhile, Georgia Southern, 4 straight losses to end the season. So that is a factor, and that also kind of just makes you feel like this 9-3 versus 6-6 is kind of a true mark and measurement, more so than some of these other matchups that we may see where it feels like the record doesn't necessarily indicate where the team kind of or how the team kind of finished more so.
Right.
So this one could kind of be that factor, but I mean, it wouldn't shock me at all to see Southern come in and win this game. It's a lesser travel for them. It's a place they're familiar with playing in. TJ, you obviously remember Cam Peoples just exploding at the Myrtle Beach Bowl against North Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that kind of game could be coming from Georgia Southern, but we'll see. I don't know. Maybe the Big Ten backers can chime in about what kind of like travel base Ohio brings to games. I know that App State has played them in a bowl game. I didn't go to that, so I don't know truly like what kind of fanfare that they have when they play a road game, especially in bowl season. But they are 9-3, so you would think that they've got some kind of fan base that's going to be excited and want to get down to the beach for this one. So, to answer that question, they said 0.
Well, that answers that.
Yeah. So, that one's great for that. Hopefully, Georgia Southern brings the fans. Okay, so he is saying wild on campus, dead on the road. All right. So, I mean, at least they've got, the local following there to support them when they're at home. But disappointing to hear, especially, when they've got a season where they're 9-3 going to play at a vacation destinations such as Myrtle Beach that they might not have many fans in the stand. We've got Dylan Vance will touch on this too. Marshall quarterback entered the portal today. We did see that. Yep. And Big Ten backers said they got to get to Boone, TJ. So I think that's one that we'd be up for sure.
Heck
with those guys. So
yeah, absolutely.
oh, they're saying Halloween is a big time deal there in Ohio. So
Yeah,
interesting.
it's a big deal in Boone too.
Big deal in
Halloween
Boone.
always played on a night game for us, and it is. Whew, I remember we played. I think my junior year. I think it was. We put 70 on Wofford
Yep.
on a Halloween night. I think everybody scored a touchdown that game.
Yeah.
It was. Yeah,
And you punted, you said.
yeah. I punted. Yeah, the only punt of the game was me, and it was like on the first drive or second drive or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
That's awesome. I just saw clips of that the other. I guess because I'm all the Armonte stuff. Noticed that there was people playing that and it was popping up on my YouTube. So I did click in for a few plays just to kind of check out because I don't vividly remember that game, unfortunately, but
Most people
I
don't.
remember. Yeah, I remember the leading up to. How about
Yeah.
that? And not being too cold, so something was up that night.
Yeah.
Montreal says, "Yeah, Halloween, yeah," because he was there for that too. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
man.
knows. He knows. We got crazy. He was on the sideline. It was probably midway through second quarter, and we were figuring out what we were doing after the game.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out what was happening at the game. Like we were talking to people in the state because the front row, our student section, was right behind us.
Yeah.
So at that time, and we were just talking, trying to figure out what everybody was doing, who's throwing a party, where we're going to Nut Street. Montreal knows about Nut Street.
Is that code, TJ? Is that code for something?
It is. It was a place in the side of a mountain that we will never tell our kids about. That's for sure.
Nice. He said he won multiple times that night. Okay.
Yes, you did. We all did.
Nice. Oh, they want to go check out the Liberty game. That would be
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, honestly, beforehand, you're like, okay, it's kind of a local, regional game. But now, with what's happened and transpired, that one's been escalated to the maybe not the top, but pretty dang close. So
yeah, it's gonna be a big game.
And they said that Nut Street sounds gross.
It was extremely gross. It was. I'll just leave it at that. It was gross. It was gross. There's lots of music, lots of liquor, and nonsense.
Oh man. And Montreal says eye of the beholder. So yeah, I'm sure. When the beholder is a college student, though, I'm not sure how much credit you can give on that. All right, getting back to the football in this. I'm getting away from the Nut Street. The Raging Cajuns take on the upstart and barely eligible Jacksonville State Gamecocks, who just transitioned up from the FCS. They pulled the JMU, right? They weren't supposed to be here. They have a great record. And I realize now, I'm putting all these graphics together and I forget that I have the Dano's stuff below. So like half the stuff I put up isn't even seen.
Yeah, you did your best. And that's all.
Yeah.
That's all that counts. I will say though, at Jacksonville State, hell of a job this year.
Yeah.
Right. It was not expected of them to do what they did, and going to a bowl game for the first time, having gone up. This early is, that's big work. I remember when App State went up for the first time, and we went to a bowl game almost right away. We were a program that was sort of expected to do it. I don't think Jacksonville State was, and hats off to them. I do think they're going to lose to Louisiana. That's for sure. I don't think, and quite frankly, I don't think it'll be close. I think they'll beat them by a couple touchdowns, maybe 14 points, at least 14. I'm predicting probably 17 to 21 in terms of points that they'll lose by. That said, though, I do, huge congrats to Jacksonville State for what they've done this year, for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is. I was trying to look when you were saying that. It looks like the Cajuns are favored going into this one by half a point, right? Am I seeing that right?
Yeah, half a point. Yep.
Half a point. That's a rarity, right? A half a point.
Yeah, I'm not going with that. I think it's at least a 2-touchdown win.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say because I feel like Jacksonville State's got this kid here at QB who's kind of the dual threat.
He's young too, right?
What?
He's young, right? I
think he is.
I think he's a freshman or sophomore.
Oh, Yeah. So Artie's agreeing with you.
Yeah, I don't think
Longtime
it'll be
fan,
close.
number one fan, Artie Cat. He is jumping in here and saying Louisiana will beat Jacksonville State silly in this game. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I have a question mark is, they've gone through 3-4 quarterbacks, I feel like, because every time they get a guy in there for a while, they get hurt.
Right.
Chandler Fields, who's pictured here in this graphic, is the starter, is the guy going into this one. And I believe he's a senior, so he's pretty much done after this. I mean, he's going to want to go out on top. You got to think a senior with the leadership, playing essentially a de facto home game, I guess. I mean, I think it's 2 hours from New Orleans to Lafayette, roughly. I've done that journey, actually, so I should know that. But I think it's about 2 hours. Not a bad drive. It's nice and easy, especially probably this time of year. But, yeah, you got to think that they're going to want to show out. I mean, much like App State, right? These App State and Louisiana were kind of at the top at the same time, and they both kind of fallen back into a little bit of mediocrity where, like, a game or two there in the season could really change what people thought. So you got to think that they want to go out on top in this one.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen Zion Chris be able to go for this one. I think the quarterbacks would have been really kind of closer mirror images. I was
going to say much mirrored skill sets.
Yes, exactly. And so this is not a knock at all on Chandler Fields. He's been great, and when he's been coming back in, and he's faced a lot of adversity with, one, injuries, and two, seeing other guys get starts and some playing time in front of him, and he's just kept grinding to get back into the spot he's in now. So, I mean, A+ grade for him. He seems like a good guy. I always see stuff online about how good of a person he is too. So great. But, there's still that element of his game that he probably doesn't have. Zion Chris that we saw earlier in the season could be pretty electric. So it'll be a little sad that we won't be seeing him, but we know that he'll be returning there. At least I haven't seen otherwise. The portal is a weird game these days. But,
I was going to say, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Get it, the Cajun seasoning for this guy. We're going back to Nut Street already. Okay.
Yep.
He even says that in the next comment. Cajuns on socks on Nut Street. Yep. Yep. We're just keeping it rolling. Jacksonville State runs the ball a lot.
Yeah.
The typical Rich Rod offense. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if some people realize that. The once famous Rich Rodriguez of Michigan and West Virginia fame is now their head coach. So definitely kind of a big name guy. I think he even spent. I think it was Rich Rod, who was at ULM for a year with Terry Bowden, who's no longer there now. But I think he was on the staff there at ULM as he was trying to get back on track. I think it was.
He fell hard, didn't he? I mean,
yes.
He fell from grace almost instantaneously. Like it didn't. There wasn't even like he didn't even go to a part like Illinois type. He just went straight down. Yeah,
it's interesting. This matchup, just to kind of go off of what we talked about last time too, which is winning or losing streaks. Nobody's really hot or cold going into this one.
Right.
The Gamecocks here alternated win-loss to end the season. Louisiana did the opposite. They lost and then won to end the year. So no one's really rolling either way in this one. So again, it'll be interesting. I think this one is one of those ones where the records don't mean that one team's better than the other.
Sure.
That first one, maybe so. We'll see. But I don't think this one is that same.
No, I think Louisiana wins by at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think they certainly could. I expect them to play pretty well. I mean, year before Marshall came into the conference, they played them in the New Orleans Bowl, and they won that one down there. Even though Marshall came in with the better record going into that game. So it'll be interesting to see if they can, grab the fan base and make this one pretty exciting for them to go out on top with.
Yeah.
All right. Granddaddy of them all. I'm just kidding. But we do have 8-5 Appalachian State matching up with MAC champion Miami of Ohio Redhawks for the, ready for this name, Avocados from Mexico Cure Bowl. It used to just be the Cure Bowl. It was so much easier. And now
now I got another who is sponsored by and all of that nonsense in there. I do love avocados. I don't necessarily care if they're from Mexico, but I do love avocados.
Yeah.
We had guacamole last night.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then you go to Chipotle and they charge you $16 extra for some guac. It's like, nah,
Yeah.
I'm good. I'll
I can
just
make
wait.
mine.
Big Ten backers are confirming that they have zero filters are for cars, so they're letting it go with the jokes here. And that's a game to watch. Yeah. So this one, just kind of like the last one, this 11-2 versus 8-5. TJ, I mean, we probably know App State better than anybody else in the conference.
Sure.
So I don't feel like this is big disparity either in this matchup. Any thoughts on? I mean, how much of the Toledo Miami of Ohio game did you get to check in on this past weekend?
I did not watch a lot of it. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I saw Across the Ticker a couple different times, but I know what I know about Miami of Ohio, and that is they have never been a solid. It's never been a solid team in terms of what their conference represents, right? There's not a. They don't have a very solid conference to begin with. So going 11-2 in the MAC. I don't want to say I don't respect it. 11-2 is 11-2. You are what your record says you are. That said, not all football is created equal, right? I mean, going 11-2 in the Big Ten isn't the same thing as going 11-2 in the SEC, right?
No.
So, not all conferences in football is created equal. I do think App wins this one. I think, we're going to be able to spread them out and outman them in a lot of ways. I do think, however, they'll be able to run the ball semi-effectively against us. I don't know that they'll get over 100 yards, but I do think they'll be somewhat effective running the football. But apart from running the run game, I don't see them beating us.
So Artie's not necessarily disagreeing with you, but he is saying Miami's a very, very good team. No one player will blow you away, but they make plays when needed, and they run the ball well. They're MAC champions for a reason.
Yeah, I knew they run the ball well.
Yeah, they definitely run the ball well, and they're predicated on really, just as he said, really solid defense. They kind of, I mean, to me, they didn't scare me as much as a Troy or a JMU defense.
Sure.
So I will say that, but they're not bad defensively. I mean, they're going to be right there. They're going to be pressuring you, and they're not going to allow you any easy yardage. So it's going to be interesting with the struggles that we saw App have against Troy in this last game, and obvious struggles that they had against James Madison when they went up against them. Again, I don't think Miami's quite on that level.
I was going to say, and if we're comparing the two, I guess the three teams in this regard, I don't think it's close. Defense, as far as the defensive front goes, I could be wrong. I think Miami is solid, but I certainly don't think that I would fear them at all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I feel the same way going into this that I did against Troy, which obviously at this point doesn't mean much because we know what happened in that one. But I mean, I think you would agree with me. I didn't fear that matchup with Troy at all. I knew we could lose. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But as a fan, I was like, oh man, I just don't know if we could win. I was thinking we would win, not easily, but I thought we would win.
Sure.
And so I feel the same way here. Maybe it's just because of the comfort and familiarity, putting on that A. I didn't play for the school like you did, TJ, but you still feel like there's a certain type of pride and everything else that goes along when you're repping the brand. But you're living the brand, repping the brand. But I don't know. I still just, in a way, maybe the loss in the championship game helps them in this. Is that a possibility that you think here?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, right? Like when you get this far into the season, you are who you are, right? It's not so much a loss helps you or hurts you or anything like that. I mean, everybody wants to win their conference. I think with this, it's more of a pride thing, right? First of all, and then secondarily, you want to prove that your conference is tough, right? Like you want to prove your 8-5 record is not it's not a regular 8-5 record, right? Like you know what I mean? Like it's not equal to your 11-2. Like we aren't the same. Like one of the saying, one of these things is not like the other. Like it's one of those things where you want to prove we are different down here in the South, and it's that football is played differently. So it's a pride thing at this point. And I do have I got App winning. I mean, by at least a touchdown. I know, because here's the other thing. I don't really care who you are. If you're not, outside of your major P5 schools, you're not stopping us from scoring 35 points. That's going to happen. We're going to score 35 points. Now, whether or not you can score 35, that's up to you. Because, there's some advantages that our defense does give up in some regard. But if we play mistake-free football on defense, we can stop you from scoring 30. But no one, I don't think there's, outside of obviously your heavy hitters, no one's going to stop us from scoring 35 points.
Yeah. I think the only teams that did all season was, James Madison and Troy, which were the two best defenses that we faced.
Yeah. And then those guys got NFL guys across that entire defensive line on both sides. So,
yeah. And I think Artie's point is true. I do think we have to get the run game better established, right? We did not do that in James Madison, and we won in overtime, by literally mere inches. So that was a close call. In the Troy game, we didn't truly establish it. There was a time where it looked like it was going to open up, right? We had that one drive early in the second half where Kanye gets into the end zone I think actually the touchdown run wasn't all that long, but the long run previous to that was the best run of the game, I believe. So we do have to we have to do something to better establish that run to make.
You got to let one guy cook.
Yeah.
Like, stop switching these running backs out. I get it that you're trying to throw different looks at people, but you got to get, it takes a quarter and a half to even get warmed up as a running back. You got to feel the defense. You got to get hit a couple times. Eventually, you're going to break it, but you can't break it if you don't learn the defense and you don't let that guy cook for a long time. Devin will tell you, K. Rich will tell you, it takes sometimes up until halftime to start wearing on a defense for one guy to do. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying don't switch backs. I'm saying don't do it as often as we were doing it.
Yeah. No, I definitely question that too. I knew that we'd throw 3 or 4 at Troy at least. I knew 3 for sure. I wasn't sure if we'd see a 4th, and I don't remember seeing Amani Marshall or Mikael Haywood.
No,
I don't know if you did.
They didn't play. No, it was it was just Kanye,
Castle and Noel.
Castle and Noel. Yeah.
Yeah, and Noel, didn't see much of the field later in the game, so I think he's still not 100% if I had to guess, because he had some success, but like you said, I don't think he was in there long enough to sustain that success. Right. Kanye had the most success because Kanye had the most success because he was in there longest, I feel like, and Castle was brought in on the short yardage stuff, and until late in the game, that wasn't really successful either. TJ says Miami is all defense and little offense. App State is very good offense and okay defense. I'll take App State's offense over Miami's defense. We will do the same, TJ.
Yes, we will.
The other TJ, the imposter TJ. And Artie says you got to go with the hot hand. And I do want to get back to one question we had back up here real quick. It looks like we got a Southern Miss fan that was tuning in. Obviously, they aren't going to a bowl, but he asked if we think Will Hall can turn it around in Hattiesburg. I'll start, TJ, and let you have a second to think about that real quick before we move on to the next game. I do think he'll be able to turn it around. I think last year was pretty successful overall, especially with what you didn't have as a team and a university coming into that season. This year, I think maybe expectations were too high. I think you and I both expected them to be better than they were. And they had playmakers, but they didn't have enough of the guys on the line maybe to really
the trenches
succeed. Yeah. So I think there's going to have to be a reestablished look at getting back to that hard-nosed Southern Miss football of old. The Nasty Bunch had that nickname for a reason. We saw some of that last year. We did not see nearly as much of that this year. So they've got to get back to that just like dirty grinding type of football and win some games ugly and everything else. So I think he will be fine. I think it could be a lot like the Sean Clark experience here in Boone, which, there's going to be some downtimes. There's going to be some times where some of these coaches are still learning some of these things that are going to make them more successful down the line, and they have to fail in order to get better as a coach kind of thing. TJ, what are your thoughts on Southern Miss going forward real quick?
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with everything you just said. I think it's going to take a while, and I think, like we said, building up that offensive and defensive line, that's where a lot of their games were won and lost. was, not being able to control the line of scrimmage. There were some times where obviously their offensive line did an outstanding job blocking for Frank Gore Jr. And then there were some times where they couldn't get it, couldn't quite get off the ground. And they never really could, stop the run game for a lot of teams that could run the ball well. When people used basically their own formula against them, they didn't respond well. And that has a lot to do with how you play up front, your front four, front five, offensively and defensively. So I think it's going to take building that up. I think skill player-wise, they've got the talent. The talent is there from their skill position perspective, a lot like Colorado, right? Skill-wise, they're there across the board.
Yeah.
It's in the trenches is where they lose football games.
Yep. I agree full-heartedly. And that's a good analogy with where Colorado is. Although they are going to be in a world of hurt when they lose Frank Gore. They're going to have to find out who their bell cow is coming in after that. Maybe they've already got him. Maybe they feel comfortable. But, obviously when you've got Frank Gore, it's hard to tell who's behind somebody that's that good. The next matchup, and again, you're not seeing this if you're watching this one live, but is the famous Toastery Bowl. This one is our first game that's not on the opening Saturday of bowl action. This one is going to be a Monday, December 18th game, pitting 6-6 Old Dominion going up against 7-5 Western Kentucky. Do you know about Western Kentucky and Austin Reed here, TJ? You familiar?
Yeah, I know a lot about him, man. Austin Reed. He's got over 3,300 passing yards for sure. I'm more concerned about Malachi Corey, to be quite honest. He's a hell of a receiver. He's got 11 touchdowns, and that 958, call it 1,000, passing yard or receiving yards. That's on 75 receptions. So he's averaging 11, 12 yards a touch, every time he's touching the rock. So I'm super concerned about him. Obviously, anytime you throw over 3,000 yards in a season, you've had a good season in college football, especially with what they're doing. I'm going to take Western Kentucky in this game. Old Dominion's done amazing things this year. I don't think that they have enough to stop the air raid offense that is Western Kentucky. Their starting running back, Elijah Young, only has, 500 rushing yards. I think a little less than 500 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns because they barely run the ball. Everything's in the air. So Old Dominion's got their work cut out for them. I know they can do it, but I think their defense is more conducive to people who run the ball, and it's been more traditional. So I given what I know about Western Kentucky, I played against them obviously in college, in them and Eastern Kentucky, and I gotta go with Western Kentucky. I gotta go with what my football mind tells me. As much as I love Old Dominion and the progress they made this year and how they made me feel and look stupid, Western Kentucky has certainly. I think they got it.
Yeah, I think I'm ultimately siding with you here. I think what we saw to end the year for Old Dominion, I'm going to bring it up here as we talk. They did beat both of the Georgia schools to end the season. As we just spoke about a little bit ago, Georgia Southern not really on the up and up when the end of the season was rolling around. Georgia State, much of the same way. So, yes, those are wins, but they literally won on the last play there against Georgia State to make it to this bowl game. Mm-hmm. We know that the Sun Belt is predicated on some pretty good defenses, but offensively, we put up points, but it seems like in the bowl season, sometimes that slows down a little bit. Yeah. And this Old Dominion offense could struggle against Western Kentucky. Is not necessarily the greatest defensively, but like you said, they just sling it, gunslinger mentality at the quarterback position for every year. It's Clay Helton's brother who's the is it Tyler Helton?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what I would have loved to have seen. Western Kentucky versus Georgia Southern in a bowl game would have been awesome.
That would have been super dope
for that one. But and it's funny that you mentioned Malachi Corley to start with, because he helped torch App State when Western Kentucky beat us senseless the other year in that other bowl game. So I don't know what it is against Western Kentucky.
Really good.
Yeah, they are. They went up against Troy earlier this year. I'm going to bring that. That game ended 27-24. If that tells you anything, we've seen what Troy can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with a good offense, they were still holding on right there with a good Troy, a very well-rounded Troy team. So this team is dangerous. They could score a lot of points. This could get ugly for Old Dominion. You've got Jason Hutchison. I'm going blank on his name now. That I just thought about it. But anyway, he's there at the linebacker position. He's making tackles all over the field.
Right.
I just don't know if he's by himself enough. And I know obviously he's not really by himself on the defense.
Sure,
but there's not as many. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy on defense, and I think they're going to be and really, honestly, with the way that Western Kentucky spreads you out and throws the football, I don't know that he'll be that much of a factor because he's not a cover linebacker, right?
True.
I mean, they don't run the ball that much. Like I said, their top running back has like 460 some yards. They don't run, and he only has 3 rushing touchdowns. So it's
crazy.
Yeah, they don't run the ball, and I just don't think he's going to be as effective as he has been in the past, for sure.
Yeah, we have both Artie Cat and Captain America from our YouTube feed saying that they are down. They're trying to get the Traders to go down, and they're calling the Traders Western Kentucky because, for those of you that don't know, they used to be in the Sun Belt Conference. And if everything I've read is correct, because I'm joining this a little bit after the fact when they left, but nobody has interest in them rejoining the conference, at least not from the members who went against them. Maybe, somebody like Old Dominion wouldn't care because they didn't really have interaction. But the members that were here before all that went down have no love lost for the Hilltoppers from Western Kentucky. So I would love to see Old Dominion get the victory. I think you and I would both like to see that, especially down there in Charlotte. It's going to be down there at UNC Charlotte because this should have been the Bahamas Bowl. There's renovations going on to the stadium. So this is actually going to be at Jerry Richardson Stadium or whatever they call it on the Concord, Charlotte.
I've been there. It's actually UNC Charlotte actually has a pretty nice stadium. I've been there. It's I saw when they played when Maryland came down and played against Maryland, walked the dog on them. This was a couple years back. Ex-teammate of mine was he coached the O-line for Maryland, and Louis Swaba, and they had a really good team.
Louis Swaba's from Hickory.
Yeah, Lou. Swab.
So I don't know him. Okay. Well, I'm familiar with him. So he was my brother's age. So he would have graduated with my brother if my brother went to high school in Hickory. That's when I moved up to Pennsylvania for my last 2 years. So I didn't really interact with him, but I was familiar with who he was. He was always a big kid and obviously got quite a bit bigger after we left. So I didn't know that you knew him too. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's my guy.
Out on the live stream.
Yeah, I went to Charlotte to watch him play because he coaches in Maryland now, so I rarely ever get to see him. As soon as I knew he was playing in Charlotte, I was like, yeah, I'm coming. And he got his tickets, got me down on the sideline. I don't sit in the stands anymore.
It's good for that, TJ.
Yeah, I'm kind of a big deal these days. No, I'm kidding. But no. In that stadium, by the way, it was funny because I actually did not have sideline passes to start out with. So there's a guy standing at the gate. I just walked past him and he double take 3 times. And I had just some random clothes on. I had a black and red t-shirt. I obviously don't have any Maryland gear, but it was black and red t-shirt, some Nike shorts, and some black and red all bred Jordans.
Nice.
And I just walked down there. He looked, he kind of did a double take, and I just kept walking, confidently just walked by. And thankfully, because he did come down there, he was like, hey, are you? I was like, yeah, I'm with the team. I'm with Maryland. And as soon as I was pointing over there, Louis Swaba, his now wife, was on the staff as well for Maryland, and she came over and brought her sideline passes. So I was like, save the day. So yeah, rule of story, guys. If you just act like you're supposed to be there, people don't really ask a lot of questions.
Speaking of acting like you're supposed to be there, Connor Stallion's name was just brought up. He says, who's the Connor Stallions of the Sun Belt? Well, hopefully we don't have a Connor Stallions. I don't want any part of it. I don't want any part of that. And they say you should have stopped you for not having your Under Armour. Oh, TJ's not an Under Armour guy. He's a Nike only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, always going to be Nike.
As we found out. Moving on to the next one, we've got the Marshall Thundering Herd, who finished up the season with a victory in order to get to a bowl game, just as ODU did, finished up the season 6-6, going on to face UTSA, who comes in with an 8-4 record in the, and this was obviously a bowl change name-wise, again, Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl. This game, yeah, it really is. Like, it doesn't roll off the tongue at all. This game follows Monday's game, as it's going to be on Tuesday, December 19th. This one's going to be a 9 p.m. Eastern start, so a late one. But it is down there in Texas, so locally it won't be too bad. But it'll be a little late for the Herd fans. Do you think they stay up because they're in this one, or do you see UTSA rolling?
I don't know, man. It's hard to say because, like I said, competition-wise, I mean, I'm just looking now at their at who they play. They beat Temple, they beat UAB, FAU, East Carolina. That's not saying much. North Texas, not saying much. Rice, South Florida. I mean, the teams that they beat outside of Texas State and UAB, I really don't have a ton of, I don't want to say respect for, but like I'm not impressed, right? And then they lost to Army. And obviously they're going to lose to Tennessee and lost to Houston. So the game against Houston was pretty close. Strength of schedule wise, I don't see it being all that different than Marshall's. Sure. But given the way Marshall's performed, I can't. My football mind tells me to pick UTSA by 3.
Yeah. Well, I think the big factor, and I'm sure you're familiar there with Frank Harris, as he's pictured here, the 17th year senior. I feel like been there forever. But when I heard he was coming back, I really expected UTSA to be a very good team this year. I knew I believe this is their first year in the American, if I'm not mistaken. I think they won Conference USA. They played Troy last year in the bowl game, and they were actually, I believe, favored in that game. Obviously, Troy ended up winning that bowl game. But yeah, it was a great game. It was a defensive battle, which was crazy because coming in, UTSA was scoring all kinds of points. And Troy was kind of scoring a little bit better, I think, towards the end of the year. But they struggled to score a lot of points, but won a tight defensive battle. I don't see a defensive battle happening here in this one. I think, and you can tell me if you feel like this is true too. I feel like the teams that play closer to the last week of the regular season or championship week tend to do a little bit better offensively than the teams that are off until like after Christmas, right? I mean, do you kind of feel that that's how it goes most years?
Yeah, for sure. I agree 100%.
Too long of a layoff. I mean, it's just like you said, with the running backs getting into a groove, you're just not in a groove at that point anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to take a break from football and then come back and play football. That's a sport you got to play. As painful as it is to play every week, and taking a break from it is even harder, unless it's just a bye week.
Yeah, because then you can kind of rest up and get better. But yeah, Dr. Harris in his final 6-year, go Herd, beat the Roadrunners. That's what Artie's saying there. Troy seems to think he's a Roadrunners. Either he's a fan or he just thinks they're going to win. He says Roadrunners beat. Yeah, interesting enough. As we saw Dylan mention earlier, Fancher is out at Marshall as he's entered the portal. So I guess I had expected Fancher to be the guy going into this one because he kind of looked a little bit better towards the end of the season, and he looked good early in the season. And then in the middle, I think what I hear, again, okay, I don't see all this stuff, but apparently the fan base was kind of hard on him. At least if Coach Huff's statement today that came out is accurate, which I don't know why he'd lie. So apparently the fans are pretty tough on him for some struggles, which is not fun to hear for any reason. But hopefully he gets into a better situation for himself. And then you've got Cole Pennington, who's going to try and come in and do what his dad's kind of done in years past at Marshall and maybe get himself an NFL look. It's way too early to say that now.
Yeah, I was going to say way early. Let's slow down.
Yeah, no. Well, you have to mention it because of the namesake, right? But sure. I mean, he hasn't performed to that kind of level whatsoever yet. But he's also very early in his career, and I'm assuming he will be the starter going into this one. But he's got to really improve that touchdown to interception ratio because that hasn't been great to start with. When you watch the play, it's not as bad as it kind of looks statistically to me. right? I mean, not every interception is always on the quarterback, TJ. We know that. Wide receivers fumble it into the air and somebody picks it off or
Run the wrong route like I did against
Yeah.
Michigan.
never. You never did that.
No, not ever.
Oh man. Well, the fake TJ. I'm just kidding, TJ Chapman. He says, hopefully Marshall doesn't try and use Acme football against the runner. That
I
would
like what
be.
you did there. I
I
like
like
that.
that joke. I like that joke.
Quality dad joke.
Yes, I was gonna say exactly. And TJ is a dad, father. So yeah, definitely has some experience in the dad joke realm. Chad Penny's son is playing QB. Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely pulling for the herd. I have no reason to hate UTSA, but I have no reason to like them. So I ain't gonna like them.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, again, I don't hate Marshall. I'm not. Only reason I'm not picking them is because I just don't. I'm not confident. I cannot be confident in the team who, in my opinion, has lost some confidence in themselves. To be quite honest. So
Yeah.
They started out the season super tough. I mean, we thought they were going to be, great coming into this year, and then it just went all to hell. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I mean, they start off the season, just to reiterate that, they start off the season, 4-0.
Yeah.
I went to go see the game against NC State. You almost went there. We almost met up for that one.
Right, yeah.
It was a great game. I mean, there was no reason to think Marshall wasn't going to rebound the very next week and take out Georgia State, but they did not. They lost 41-24, and that started the massive downturn where they went on a 5-game skid before rebounding for a win-loss win finish on the season and beating Arkansas State kind of impressively there in that last game. But yeah, I mean, it's tale of two teams here. So we will have to see who comes out here. But yeah, I mean, if I'm putting money on it, which I'm not, I'm putting it on the Roadrunners at this point, but I'd love to be wrong and see them take those guys down. Artie thinks that put a spy in on Harris and force him to throw and shut down the run. Yeah, I mean, the bad part is he can beat you a multitude of ways. So they're going to have to do a couple things to keep him from running rampant, both figuratively and literally. In the 6th matchup, I didn't note this, but we have the numbers of the days of the 12 days of Christmas that I so greatly threw in here as a little, what do they call it? Easter egg, right? When you're watching movies back. I don't even know all the 12 days of Christmas off the top of my head. I mean, some of them. But anyway, if you want a little interesting aspect, I was throwing that in here to have some fun with that. Now, this is the matchup we talked about earlier. I'll go ahead and let you take over from here, TJ, what your thoughts are on Troy versus Duke coming in.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Troy. I think Troy is tougher up front defensively. I do like Duke. I think they did an excellent job this year as far as, making themselves relevant, getting kind of, I don't want to say back on the map. They never really were on the map. I think that win against Clemson initially sort of turned the table for them and gave us sort of an eye-opener. And then they go on a 4-game win streak, lose a close one to Notre Dame, and then beat NC State. So I think they started the season out super, super strong. Obviously, falling to Florida State, falling to Louisville, those are not games that we're going to hold against Duke for that. And then they beat Wake Forest, which they should have, and then lose to Carolina. And then the loss to Virginia is a head scratcher. Yeah. I don't know what happened. I didn't watch the game, but I saw it come across the ticker, and I was like, and then you bounce back and beat Pitt. So I don't know who Duke is, but I know who Troy is. And I know that front four that Troy has is going to neutralize Duke's run game, which they rely fairly heavily on. I mean, not terribly heavy. I think Jordan Walters is 750 yards, almost 800 yards, 12 touchdowns. So I'm not super impressed by their run game, but if I had to pick where their strong suit was, I would say running the ball for sure. But I'm with you, Artie. Troy all day. Yeah,
Troy and even Captain America here. He is a Troy fan, so that makes sense. He says, sure. I'm pulling for my Troy Trojans. We're both pulling for your Troy Trojans. My question in the factor in this one I think could be big is Riley Leonard going to play in this one? I don't know if I've seen definitively yes or no, but he's rumored to be headed towards Notre Dame for his last season. So, the portal's a weird thing. I think if I'm understanding this correctly, we're still all learning about this stuff. I think they can enter the portal and they can still play in these bowl games. But there's a lot of guys who are entering the portal and saying, I'm done. That's it. We're over because I'm going to make sure I'm not injured going to my next school or whatever. So I don't think just because somebody does enter means they're not going to play, or not enter means they will play. You know what I mean? Like, there's still I just don't know. Now, having said that, I still favor Troy in this one as well. I mean, just what they've shown defensively throughout the season. I mean, they had 2 losses to either. Let me go back and see if K-State was ranked when they lost to them, and that was an ugly loss. I mean, it was 42-13. It wasn't all that close.
Sure.
Early in the season, Troy was learning about themselves still. They are not the team then that they are now. And then they lose the only other game, again, pretty early in the season, the week right after that, to JMU, 16-14. I believe that game was like wet and slippery too. So not going to hold that one truly against them. I just don't think that Duke's going to be able to just establish much of anything. Kind of like the App game this past week. Troy's defense is just that good, really, truly. And now what's funny is last year they were thought to be good, and statistically this year their defense is even better. So that's the case on the defensive side of the ball. The offensive side of the ball has also greatly improved from last year. See, the defense didn't take a massive leap, right? In fact, a lot of people thought they'd go back. They're statistically better. You could argue here and there about players at certain positions, sure, because you lose Carlton Marshall, who's like the all-time tackle leader in NCAA football when he leaves Troy last year, but they don't seem to fall off a beat, which is interesting. Offensively, they exploded this year, which I did not see coming because they had DK Billingsley last year as well. So him and Vidal were a 2-headed monster, and they didn't even have to be because, the defense was just that good. It was kind of like, who am I thinking of in the pros that's been so good defensively that, I'm thinking of Iowa. That's what I did. Thinking of Iowa, where they literally think that like Iowa stood a better chance if Iowa's defense could have put points on Michigan instead of their offense.
Right.
Like, Troy's not at that level. They have the defense who could do that, but they also have the offense who can just go and score points by themselves. They don't need the defense to help them out in all aspects of the game, like a team like Iowa does, for example. So I think that's why I'm favoring Troy here. I do think this game is closer. Let's see, what is the spread on this one? Troy by 7.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. I mean, I don't see Troy running away with it. I mean, I guess they could have a game like an App game where like it's close until late and then they just overpower Duke.
I agree. I just don't think, like you said, Duke's going to be able to do much against them on either side of the ball.
Yeah, we've got Bradley chiming in, another Trojan fan saying "Go Trojans." Oh, okay. Captain America played baseball at Troy back in 2007 and 2008, so he's probably around our age, TJ.
Yeah.
Very nice. Linebackers are your linebackers, your defensive ends, your D tackles. They're all nasty.
Yeah, every your front 7 in general belong in the NFL.
Yeah, and then when you get to the backfield, the secondary. I mean, they have more than one guy, but they've got Pettis and I think is Pettis a linebacker? I guess, right? Or is he no? He's a safety. Isn't he?
Safety, yeah. But he plays. He plays up every now and again as an extra linebacker.
Okay, so that's why, because like he was all over App State. I mean, just crushing us. So he was definitely, to me, the defensive player of the game. But they also got Reddy Stewart back there, who's a ball hawk. So yeah, Troy's defense will scare anybody in the nation. I don't care where they're ranked. I don't care how good they are offensively. I don't care if you put them in the CFP. I'm not arguing for that by any means. But what I'm saying is they could go up against any of those offenses. They're not going to be scared to get on the field with any of those guys.
I agree.
So, I mean, just fantastic stuff is what Troy's done. Reddy Stewart will have at least – there we go. So Bradley actually chimed in with that before I even saw it. But, Reddy Stewart, man, he had some interceptions last year. I think he took at least one to the house. He might have had 2 pick sixes last season. And I can't remember off the top of my head what he's done this year. But, yeah, you old men, yeah.
That is fair. That is fair.
Old men with 4 less wisdom teeth, and TJ's soon to join the club.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Getting into the next one, I think it's our first 6-6 matchup here. It pits Arkansas State going up against NIU, Northern Illinois Huskies. This one's crazy, right? I mean, they both have like dogs as mascots. They both are red, white, and black in their colors. They both were 6-6. And they're both going to be traveling to Alabama to play in the Camellia Bowl on ESPN at 12 noon on this is a Saturday game. The Troy and Duke game was also a Saturday game for those thinking about when that one was. So Saturday noon game. Are these teams the mere images as they look on screen now, or do you see some things that are going to stick out to you statistically in this one?
I think they're pretty evenly matched, to be quite honest. I'll say, NIU's run game has been super strong. I think that's the one bright spot for them. I think Antonio Brown, I think he's got over 1,100 rushing yards that he has, 10 touchdowns. He's got, I think they're going to do well trying to establish the run, but I think these are two teams that are very evenly matched. It's a coin flip for me. I'm obviously going to roll with the SEC, Arkansas State. I would like for them to do it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't.
Yeah. This one is interesting to me because of what, and I didn't bring up their schedule right off the top of my head, but
I do have their schedule actually right in front of me.
Do you?
Yeah, they lost to Boston College first game of the season, beat Boston College, and then they went on a 4-game losing streak. Southern Illinois, Nebraska, Tulane, and Toledo. Lost them
FCS Southern Illinois. Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, that was some heat they had, and then they ended up beating Akron, won 3 in a row, Akron, Ohio, and then Eastern Michigan, and then lost 2 more straight to Central Michigan and Ball State. So, kind of an up and down year for them, a year of streaks for sure. But I just don't, again, I'm not super impressed by that strength of schedule. I know Arkansas State's schedule is tougher in some regard, but neither of these teams jump off the page to me as dominant.
Yeah. Artie says he had his wisdom teeth removed at boot camp and it sucked ass. Hopefully you feel better now. Yes, it does suck. It sucks even worse when they puncture your sinus cavity and you have more stitches up there. I had some more come out today, so at least that's better because, man, those things are just rubbing there on the cheek, and it's like it's not even the pain, it's the irritation or the annoyance, but getting back to this game, the Boston College win, kind of impressive. The rest of it, not impressive.
Right.
None of the wins to me are impressive. And again, we've talked about this with the MAC. It is what it is. I don't think a lot of people think that highly of the MAC. And Arkansas State, I mean, they get crushed in their first 2 games, and then they rebounded really, really well. They had a pretty ugly game against Troy, but every other loss, maybe sans the Marshall one on the last game of the year, was like a respectably close loss, especially with where they were at coming into the game. I think the X factor in this one continues to be Jalen Rayner, the North Carolina native, the running back here, or Brown, the one that we talked about. He's a Georgia native, so he's kind of coming back close to home to play in this one. So it'll be interesting to see if he's got a lot of family there. But I think Jalen Rayner is just electric. I expect him to do good things, especially after that, lackluster game they had against Marshall as a team. I expect them to rebound and get the victory here, and they are favored by 1. So again, mirror image thing continues to be looking like a pretty fair assessment, even with the Vegas sports books. Teams, Artie says teams are very similar. Yeah. And Captain America says, get them Arkansas State. Yeah, we will hope they do. And we will move on to one of the most talked about teams, if not the most talked about teams in the Sun Belt this season, as JMU 11-1 goes up against Air Force, who was also really hot to start the year. Ended up 8-4 overall. They'll face off in the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl on that Saturday. This is a 3:30 contest on ABC. Does Air Force stand any chance?
Oh, no. Listen, man, that offense they run is no. Okay, no. They're not going to throw the ball. I mean, they've got the running back and obviously two running backs, or quarterback and two running backs who've had decent seasons, accounting for between the three of them 18 touchdowns. So for whatever that's worth, I mean, like I said, they started the season pretty hot, but Robert Morris, Sam Houston, Utah State, San Jose State, San Diego State, Wyoming. Wyoming probably was a fairly decent win for them. Navy, and then Colorado State. I mean, I'm not impressed by any of that. I mean, at all. None of that impresses me. So I'm picking JMU by a lot.
Yeah.
By like 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm agreeing with you. Maybe even more than that. But the line sits at 3. How the hell does that happen? I mean,
yeah.
I know McLeod is in the transfer portal, so I don't fully expect him to play in this game. Maybe he will. Again, we don't know the stipulations. Some of these guys will enter the transfer portal and say, well, I'm still going out, one last time or something. But
right.
I don't know if he's expected to play in the game or not. If he does, this gets ugly quick and is over quick.
Yes.
No one can run the ball on James Madison. They've pretty much proven that all year. In fact, weirdly enough, the other Virginia team in ODU was one of the best teams to do it against them, but they still didn't go off for anything crazy against them.
Right.
So I don't expect Air Force to move the ball at all. And to note, as we talked about earlier, Air Force, and you touched on it too, 4 straight losses to end the year. They're down and out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Confidence is shot. I'm just not. Yeah, I JMU by a mile.
Yeah, and I've seen how JMU fans travel for FCS playoff games. That's all we've really had to go off of because this will be their first ever bowl game. First ever bowl game in a primetime position on TV in a good location weather-wise. I mean, we don't truly know that, but it's down there in Texas, so it's going to be warmer than where they're at in Harrisonburg, Virginia. I fully expect to see a lot of purple and gold and a lot of streamers flying down there in Texas for this one. So, yeah, I don't even think we need to spend a whole lot more time on this. This is a cut and dry, very, very easy game to call, and I think everyone's agreeing with us. Artie says Jamie will win this game easily. Sorry, Air Force, or sorry, AF.
I was just getting ready to say the other one because I'm immature and I'm a child.
Yeah. We like to have fun with this. And Captain America agrees. JMU better smash Air Force. For those people that are listening, that are like, why the hell does he keep saying this guy's name is Captain America? Well, when you comment on our stream, this is going to show your username. So he's got Captain America as his little logo or profile picture, whatever you call it for YouTube. And his name's there, Captain America. So, yeah, good time tonight. I'm glad these guys are having fun with us as we go through. We'll jump into the next game. This is, again, kind of a weird look. Both teams, blue and white, a little bit different shades here, I guess, in this one. But both teams also 6-6. They'll face each other in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. That's also on a blue field. So there's a lot of blue in this one. Whoever gets to wear the blue on the turf will have an advantage, I think. But what do you think about Georgia State matching up with Utah State in this one? I mean, I think this is another scenario where someone's coming in with a bunch of losses at the end of the season, I think, right?
So Utah actually ended the season on a win. I'm not, again, another schedule I'm not super impressed by. I will, however, say they did play fairly well against Iowa. Iowa, I say that prefacing my comment by saying Iowa's they're not going to score a ton of points. So, do with that information what you will. But a 24-14 loss is not a bad loss against a top 25 ranked school. So there's that. Then they beat Idaho State. They lost to Air Force, which, I mean, there you go. Obviously, they lost to James Madison they actually scored a lot. I mean, it's 45-38 against JMU. So everybody beats UConn. The UConn game is weird for me because 34-33, UConn is trash. I mean, they are absolute garbage. So I don't know what to make of that. Maybe it was a game of you playing down to the level of your competition, or Utah State just really isn't that good. So we don't know. They beat Colorado State, but so did everybody. Fresno State, they lost. San Jose, they lost. San Diego State win, and them in Nevada. Nevada's not good. Neither is San Diego State, and then New Mexico's not very good either. So, listen,
I think the one you skipped is really important. They got hammered by Boise State. Now we know,
and that is important. But I intentionally left that out because Boise State is a pretty good football team, so I wasn't going to hold that against them.
I see.
Because of how good Boise State traditionally has been, especially running the football. So I was going to kind of let them live. But you're right. I mean, getting blown. I mean, they got the hell beat out of them by Boise State, and that matters. So, overall, am I super impressed by their record? No, I'm not super impressed by Georgia State's record either. Being partial to Sun Belt, I will say level of competition again, and I'll say it probably mostly for everybody, almost everybody we go against. It is just different, this different brand of football that's being played. So I'm taking Georgia State. I'm not happy about it. I'm not going to beat my chest about it. There's nothing to write home for sure. But I think it'll be a close game for sure. I think it'll be tough.
Yeah. So Artie says, enjoy that Boise December weather, Georgia State fan. And he's right, because they only have one fan. They don't have more than that. But I don't even know if that one fan is going to make the trek. So,
probably not.
That's a long way to go in
it'll
December.
be a friends and family game for sure.
Yes. And so, hey, having said that, Utah State, much less travel. They've got to have the advantage in that regard.
But do they? How many people go to Utah State's games?
True.
Like 5 more than Georgia State?
Yeah, that's true. But, and Artie's agreeing with you. Georgia State for the win. Mountain West Conference is weak. However, Georgia State's got some guys in the portal too. I'm pretty sure their top 2 running backs have declared for the portal. So if they don't go, it's going to be all on Granger's shoulders and whoever that third string running back is. I think I have that right. I know there's 2 running backs in the portal for Georgia State. Again, those guys could play in the game. I don't know for a fact. I'm just stating what I've seen. So it's possible that they don't. And if they don't go, because if they have Carroll on their side, I'm with you. I'm favoring Georgia State in this game because you can really help control the clock and control the momentum of that game by having a successful day on the ground. And then Granger's got the legs to do the same type of thing too. So you've got a dual threat back there that can make you respect both positions. But I'm going to go the opposite way in this one. I think Georgia State, I was just looking at that and now I forget. I think it was 5 straight losses to end the year. Yeah, 5 straight losses to end the year. They're just not looking great. Are they down and out? They're traveling across the country. It's de facto
where is this
home
game
for Utah State. What?
Where is this game?
This is Boise, Idaho.
Okay. Yeah. Ugh. Neither team is gonna have fans show up. Like, they might as well call it the Friends and Family Bowl because that's all that's gonna be there. That's because neither of these teams travel. I mean, they don't even pack their own stadiums out. So, that certainly will not be an advantage.
No.
That said, I'm still going with Georgia State. Again, it's a heart pick, not a head pick, but I'm also, Utah State. I'm not impressed enough for them to make me change my mind. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that. I mean, this is still kind of a toss-up game, even having said everything I did. The Utah State guys are favored by half a point. So again, this is one of those.
So what are we doing?
Mirror images. Yeah. So it toss up. I'll toss it to Utah State just because I just don't have any trust left in Georgia State after everything they've gone through at the end of the year.
That's fair.
But I'd love to be wrong. I'll say that. I mean,
I'm that way with Marshall. I just said the same thing about Marshall. I wasn't able to trust them throughout the rest of the season. So I mean, we're in the same. I'm with you. I'm tracking.
Yeah. So we agree there. Again, another 6-6 matchup. This time, South Alabama matching up with Eastern Michigan. I looked over Eastern Michigan, man, just a quick while ago before the show started. It's kind of like you were saying with Ohio, but maybe even more so. Like I just, no one stands out to me. Yeah. I put the quarterback here because he's, got some of the statistics, but like running back wise, they're not putting up a huge total. Wide receiver wise, I think they had maybe I'll just pull it up again, but I think they only had two guys in 300-400 yardage areas.
I'm looking at Samson Evans, 635 yards on 142 carries and 12 touchdowns. The 12 touchdowns is admirable. I mean, that's respectable.
Right.
But I'm not impressed by anything else. And then their top receiver, Tanner Kuhn, or Newt, whatever, however the hell you say that, 50 receptions for 479 yards and 3 okay. What do you want me to do? 3-year party? I'm not impressed.
This is let's see, the line. Okay, so here's to tell you the disparity between the MAC and the Sun Belt when both teams are 6-6 coming in. Vegas is favoring South Alabama in this one by 15.5 points.
Yeah, and I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think that's right.
So go back and look no further than what South Alabama did against Oklahoma State and a few other teams. They weren't consistent with it, and so they're going to get a knock for that. I mean, they end the season 6-6 after being a favorite to win the West before the season started, so not great in that regard. Sure. But they can still do it. They got Webb on their side. They got Carter Bradley back there. They got Colin Lacey. So I mean, they've got playmakers. This one could be even uglier than JMU versus Air Force, I think. I mean, really and truly, if they play up to their potential, it really could get out of hand quickly.
Yeah, because South Alabama's not a true 6-6 team.
No, they're definitely better than that.
Yeah,
they're not much better than that because of the consistency factor. But yeah, they are still better than that. Also,
too, and just like Captain America said, the Sun Belt is East is stout.
Yeah.
Same thing for the West. I mean, just the whole conference in general. I mean, football is just different. And I hate to keep saying it because it sounds like you're being a homer. It sounds like you live in the South, so you think the South. It's like picking SEC or it's the truth is the truth. Athletes in the South are bigger, stronger, and faster. Like a team like Georgia, a team like Florida, Florida State, Alabama, Texas, these schools, Mississippi State, LSU, they don't really have to go outside of their state if they don't want to recruit.
Nope.
Because they're right. I mean, they're right, but they can go outside, at a local high school down the street and see a starting running back next year. I mean, that's just how it goes. I mean, and really, when even going back to my days at App State, probably half of our offense was from Atlanta. Well, the drive from Atlanta to Boone is only 3 hours. So, it's just right down 85. So essentially, you're just recruiting your own area.
Yeah.
It's just football is just different here. It just is.
We're going to get to a cool little fact Artie has in just a second, but on one of the College Football Dogs podcasts earlier this season, somehow I coined the phrase "sweet Southern speed," and that is to me the biggest difference. There's big guys all over the country, and you got the Iowa, Minnesota guys that are just corn-fed and big husky dudes that are strong, but they ain't fast. Right. And down in the South here, we've got the guys that are just as big and way faster. And I think that's why you've seen SEC be the dominant force in college football for so long. And John Summerall, Troy's head coach, just said after the championship game, this is like a mini SEC. And there's no disagreement here in my mind after what I've seen. So, yeah, I totally agree with you and what you've just said there. Artie says that random football history here from the MAC. Eastern Michigan used to be the Hurons, which I believe is a type of fish. Only Central Michigan kept a native name. Western switched to the Broncos. So, yeah, I wasn't even aware of Western switching by the time I've really been paying attention to football. They've been the Broncos that I can remember. But, maybe I just didn't notice that beforehand. Yeah, I definitely did not know that. Central Michigan is the Chippewas. I do know that, so they've kept that. It is cool, to have something that's your own.
What is a Chippewa?
I think it's a tribe.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like the Seminoles, like Florida State Seminoles. Like I think it's Chippewas were. But yeah,
I guess I got the internet right in front of me. I could have just Googled it.
Right. If only we could look this up.
Right. Right.
Oh, I was wrong about the fish. Huron is an Indian tribe. So I was way
okay. But a heron is a fish, right? A blue heron or something.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of.
So that's maybe what you were thinking of. A heron,
probably spelled
either
differently.
Fish or bird or something. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. That makes sense. I was thinking of it's probably spelled.
We don't need mascot trivia tonight. This is not. That's not our forte. I know what I'm.
It's a Wednesday night. This is too much thinking for that.
Right.
So Artie says they were all named after local. I mean, that's a pretty cool fact, and it's
that
kind
is
of
cool.
sad in the fact that, history has to change all the time, right? I mean, we can't just, appreciate it and keep it around because, if these names were still here, we would know these things more likely, right, TJ? I mean, like that's the weird thing about it, right? So anyway, Big Ten backers, they're still here. They might have left, but they're back. Agreed. And it's the Great Lake. I didn't know it was great, and I think that's probably why I was thinking fish in my head.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's my excuse anyway. But
yeah, stick with
it. All right. So another matchup with equal standings, records, whatever you want to say. 7-5 teams: Coastal Carolina and San Jose State in the Easy Post Hawaii Bowl. I'll tell you what, DJ, as a player, how much would you have liked to have gone to Hawaii Bowl for free?
I would absolutely have loved to go to Hawaii. My brother's there, so that would have been awesome. But I mean, Hawaii is a if I'm gonna go somewhere to play a bowl game, win or lose, that's to be a good place to do it.
That's what I'm saying. I don't really care what my record is. If I make a bowl game and people are like, where do you want to go? Be like, I don't care, just go to a bowl game. And they say Hawaii. I say, yep, sign me up. I'll be
we're going. Even if I transfer or declare for the portal, I'm playing that game.
Oh yeah, no doubt, right? Or I'll just wait to declare for the portal till after, maybe, make it look good. The state fish of Hawaii, the Big Ten backers are asking. I don't know the state fish of many states though. So
I didn't even know there was a state fish.
Maybe it's a trick question.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting to this one real quick, we see Pinckney going over the top of Pettis. Actually, is who he's posterizing here in this play. What I don't know. This is a long travel for Coastal Carolina. They did it earlier this year. We talked about travel being a big aspect. They went up against UCLA. They did very respectable, but they also had Grayson McCall in that game, and they ain't going to have him in this one.
Right.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, I don't know how much you're aware of this. I think it's Cordero. Is that how you pronounce his last name?
Looks like it, yeah.
Corderio or something like that. Now, I'll tell you what. I told you, excuse me, college fantasy football. I had this guy on my roster. Whew, he puts up some points, man. He is a very good quarterback. He's got NFL talent. He's got NFL guys looking at him. So he's likely to end up there. I'm not going to say he's like some kind of early pick necessarily. But he could be one of those sleeper guys from a smaller school, a smaller conference that nobody's really aware of. And he comes in and really impresses in post-game or postseason, all-star games or combine kind of stuff. So I think I'm favoring San Jose State because of all those factors I just said.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think travel is too much for Coastal. Coastal has proven to not play big in big games. Unfortunately, I hate going against them because I do love the environment there. I know you've been to Coastal for a couple games. I've been there certainly. I love that environment, and their fans show up. I doubt they'll be showing up to this game. Yeah. That said, I just think, it's too much. Like I said, too many external factors, and for that reason alone, I'm going with San Jose. Not because they're impressive. They lost to Air Force. They lost by a mile. Well, actually, not too bad to Boise State. But then lost to Toledo, Oregon State, and USC. Obviously, they would lose those games. But then finished the season on a 5-game win or 6-game win streak. So
I was just going to mention that.
Yeah, they're riding high going into this bowl game, and Coastal is not. So,
dang. Big Ten Backers has shared that the longest name I've ever seen for a fish, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce.
Yeah, I was going to say good luck with that. You can have that one.
He says probably not spelled correctly. Even if it wasn't, I wouldn't have any dang clue.
Yeah.
Artie says that weak Mountain West Conference will show through. I pray we never have to go to Hawaii. No one can travel, and Hawaii is overpriced, horrible place. Oh, man. Well.
Jeez. Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah. I've never been. I would like to go just because, it's picturesque more than anything else. But I'm agreeing with you here. San Jose State's coming in rolling. Absolutely rolling. And to mention, in those 6 games that they've won to end the season, by the way, one of them was at Hawaii. So they've already been there, done that. So they're going to have all the experience and everything on their side to win this game. Once again, I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to see Coastal come out on top, but I'm not favoring them in this one. And is Vegas? I'm sure Vegas is favoring San Jose State. Yeah, 9.5 points to San Jose State.
That makes sense. And they beat Hawaii like a drum, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It wasn't close. Well, I mean, Hawaii's not good either,
Well, no,
so.
but still, going 3 hours back in the time zone to just deliver an ass whooping and then come back home.
Yeah. Yep. All right, we've made it. The last game. It feels like it's taken forever, which is awesome because that means we've got 12 teams, 12 days of Christmas, 12 games of Christmas, as we call it. Man, I sounded like Trump there for a minute. 12 games of Christmas. I can't do it. I'm not even going to try and do the voice. But anyway, we have Texas State, and we both know this. Ismail Mahdi, I want to say Muhammad. I work with a bunch of guys named Muhammad, so it just rolls off the tongue. But Ismail Mahdi was on the Boot podcast the other day. A fantastic interview. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. Artie, especially you. I was in there commenting. I wasn't on the feed, but I was either commenting or asking some questions. He is an open book, an awesome dude, and electrifying to watch on the field. Certainly, probably one of the best all-purpose backs in college football in general. And they just got awarded, I think it was for honorable mention, or I can't remember exactly which list it was off the top of my head. I should look that up. But yeah, he's getting some recognition. He's people are noticing him. And
he's good.
Also to note, and if Artie's still in here, the Bobcats of Texas State have completely sold out their bowl allotment of tickets for this game already. And this one is the latest game for the Sun Belt to even play in. So that's also another impressive point. It's not till the day after Christmas on a Tuesday, and they're selling out their bowl allotment. So they're excited for this, their first ever bowl game. I expect Mahdi to go off. Rice is what they are. I mean, they're a 6-6 middle of the pack team. I think Texas State is better than that 7-5 record looks.
Right. No, I agree. I think Texas State is certainly much better, in my opinion, than Rice. Ground game, they'll be outstanding. I think they'll be – listen, Texas State has shown us some flashes this year of absolute greatness. I mean, they put a 70-pointer up at one point during the season. Yep. So, I mean, they can do this. It's just a matter of, how often. And will they show up? And I think they will. I think there's some excitement around having sold out your bowl game and this being your first one. So I'm definitely going with them. One thing of note, Rice's quarterback is JT Daniels. That's not the JT Daniels, is it?
Oh, yes, it is. The guy who's been here
really?
for the Frank Harris mirrored image where they're getting their doctorate and everything. They're double doctoring.
Wow. He's been in college forever.
Yes, he has.
I lost track of him.
So somehow he's done it apparently legally. You know how all these players are, Tez Walker's being declared ineligible because he's moved to a third team or second team or whatever it is. And like JT Daniels is on like his fourth or fifth team. And it's
this has got to be at least fourth.
Yeah, he did it differently. It's like, yeah, but guys, this is ridiculous. He should not be allowed to move through NCAA football like a free agent does in NFL.
This is insane. He's been on more teams than James Harden.
Yeah. Oh man. So Big Ten backers said Nut Street got nothing. And they also said they did their best Trump impression. Those were the best 12 games of Christmas. Like, so great. Everybody knows how great they are. I wish I could do the voice, man. It would be so much better. Getting back to the football, Artie Cat says the ticket has been bought, the room reserved, and he's ready to go. Bull Rep said it might be close to a full house. I'll check it out. Mahdi is a beast for sure. Yeah, no, the electricity in that game may surpass any other bowl game for the Sun Belt this year. We know how Texas loves their football. These are two teams right there in Texas, and if one team's going to fill it up, the other team's going to try. I don't know what kind of big-time fan base Rice has, to be honest. I mean, I've seen some stuff on TV. They don't look like they fill a stadium very often, but maybe.
Well, when you're named after a food, probably not.
Yeah. Yep. Captain America says that Texas State QB is a beast. Yeah, Finley. He certainly has the games where he can go off.
Big kid too.
Yeah. Texas versus Texas, and we're tied at 2. Okay, so the rivalry is all tied up. So okay, this one's going to be juiced real good here because there's going to be a lot of talk on both sides if that's the case.
Absolutely.
So yeah, he's been everywhere, man.
It's like his 14th team. Yeah, I know. I mean, like I said, I remember him. I mean, a long time ago. I can't remember where he started out at, but
I think he started at USC, didn't he, or was he Georgia?
I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank. I just know it's been a lot of teams.
All right, I'm looking it up because I need
Yeah, I was
to know
going to
the
say
answer.
we do have this thing called the internet.
Yeah, so he was at USC, then Georgia, then West Virginia, and now Rice. So he's only on his 14. I thought he was on like his 15 or 16. Or
That's
something
still a lot, bro. That's
It
still
is
a lot.
still- no, it's still a
14
lot.
in college. Come on, that's a lot. 2 is enough.
Yeah, two is definitely enough. Oh man, well, I don't know what else we have to go over. 12 teams. I feel like I thought this would be a shorter episode, and I'm realizing now, and I realized before when we went live actually, but like this is more games than we cover in a normal week, right?
Mhm.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. That's the 12 games of Christmas Sunbelt style. We really appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Unless TJ, you've got anything else to share, I think we've wrapped it up quite well. Maybe we talked about this a little bit. We'll talk about it more in the background. We might do some extra stuff closer to the actual game, little shorter things specific to each game. We'll talk more about that and see what we come up with. But yeah, TJ, anything you want to expand on before we get out of here?
No, man, I think we covered it all. Good luck to all the teams in the Sun Belt. I'll be rooting for all of you. I don't think all of you will win them, but I certainly will be rooting for everybody in the Sun Belt. When any win is a win for all of us. So excited about it, and thanks, guys, for joining us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we do definitely appreciate it. The interaction has been awesome. People go back and watch this afterward too, which is really cool to see. I've seen the numbers jump like crazy even after we've put it up. So people are interested. Some people may not be able to stay up this late, so they check it out later. And real quick, Artie's talking about Rice being a small private school. Yeah, so it's kind of like a Duke situation. Like Duke has a big stadium, but they never fill it up because they don't have that many people around who care all that much.
Yeah.
But Big Ten Backers wants to talk about the environments of the Sun Belt. Best game day, I mean, to me, it's pretty clear. It's still App State, but JMU was impressive when I was there. I won't lie. It's a little skewed because game day was there as well, so it's not necessarily a fair assessment. But it's those teams that have been good for a long time. I've seen Marshall at an away game this year, like I said, with NC State. The tailgate even hours away, I was very, very impressed with the Marshall turnout and what they were doing in the parking lots. So Paul Johnson, Magic 8 Ball, he was late. He can go back and watch. He probably wants us to hear what we had to say about his Troy Trojans taking down our App State boys at the start of the program.
Yeah, let us not revisit that.
Yeah. And then Warren ends it out here with a go Sunbelt. Absolutely. I don't care what we've picked. I'd love to see the belt go 12-0.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is unlikely, but there should be some games that really get lopsided in our favor, and hopefully more of them than not. TJ, you want to plug the socials real quick before we say adieu?
Yeah, man. You can find me at Thick Thighs and Large Fries on Instagram. Come see some smoked meat. You can also find me at TJ Corman on Facebook.
Absolutely. As far as us at the Syndicate, you can follow us everywhere, and I do mean everywhere. I try and cover them all at Sunbelt Syndicate. The only one that's any different is Twitter doesn't have the E because it was just a little too long. Again, maybe closer to bowl time. We'll see you guys again. We'll definitely be live on the socials moving forward. So we will see you guys next time.